Green space and the creation of green space is really important to me. When I was first running, community organizers that protect green space said that if we broke up green space equally between all CD1 residents, which is about 250,000 people, each person would get about a piece of paper sized green space. Community gardens add to that green space. And in my district, we have several. I helped support our Solano Canyon community garden with $25K investment from Council District 1 so that they can get moving on infrastructure that they want to move. Also at the Highland Park community garden here, we brought in city resources. They wanted to revamp their garden. We brought in sanitation and other mechanisms for them to throw away their trash so that they can rebuild their garden here in Highland Park. And one of the ones that I'm most proud of is the park that we have in Pico Union in collaboration with Cultiva LA, where it's a community garden built on land that used to be toxic. And so we did the work to remediate that land and clean it up so that we can give it back to Cultiva LA because Pico Union is one of our parkest poor neighborhoods, and giving them access to more green space, again, is important. And so now that park is operating. Right now it's called Cesar Chavez Community Garden. They're going through a name change process. They have decided to take that on, but we will be in support of all the activities that they want to do because our community has said that it's good for their mental health, it's good for their community development, and the relationships they're building with their community members.
Raul.
Wow. I was just up at Solano Canyon, going through the abandoned tunnels that is not green, that is not safe, and that is not clean. I'm glad that Raul is here and other people from Solano Canyon are here. You talked about my hometown of Pico Union. We ain't seen you up there in 2 to 3 years, so I'm gonna just say that. And $30 million for MacArthur Park, after, again, I didn't always agree with Cedillo, but he left that park ready for the foreseeable future. He left it there for $3 million. All we needed was the fence that would have cost $1 million. Now the council member wants to all of a sudden put a fence around MacArthur Park for another $3 million after initial $30 million. But it's not just about MacArthur Park. Let's look at Lacey Park. Again, another fence. Ain't that right, Seth? Because we have different types of business improvement districts that are, a few of them that are left, because the one in Chinatown is gone, because the council member didn't support it. So the most troubling one, though, that I got to learn about was Cypress Park. Bambi, we're talking about green spaces since you're yelling. It's good to see you, sister. So Cypress Park and Cypress Rec Center. Drive through there today. RV Central, homeless encampments everywhere, no usage of green space for our youth and families. Again, in my first 100 days, Prop 36 and LAMC 4118 will be fully enforced correctly so we can have safe schools, safe parks, safe streets for everyone. Thank you.
Raul addressed Eunisses, so Eunisses has 30 seconds to respond. And so timekeeper, if you could do 30 seconds right now. Thank you.
Rebutting on his on the misinformation that he just gave out. Let's see.
And sorry to do that. Let's not make it back and forth because now Raul gets to have 30 seconds.
No, and that's great because I'm excited that he brought up MacArthur Park. This $30 million is actually $27 million, and $20 million of that dollars is private investment from LA Care, a health organization that's going to be developing a health hub in MacArthur Park, going to be providing street medicine at MacArthur Park. I secured $400,000 from LA County money to do an overdose response team that has reduced overdose deaths among people experiencing homelessness by 32%. I'm bringing resources that's OPM, other people's money, not LA taxpayer money. I've gotten grants, and we're bringing more from MacArthur Park.
Okay, Raul, 30 seconds.
Other people's money is our money. All the policies that I hear now is taxing on your trash, taxing on our public services, and that $27 million is not yours. Neither is the county money or the state money. And this only happens because it's so bad. But when you start trying to close up Wilshire Boulevard and no one wants that other than the 30 people that continue to be recycled at your meetings, that's not community engagement, so miss me with that.
Okay. Quiet, please. Quiet. Sylvia, community gardens. I'm sorry for these mic problems. Let's just all share one mic and we'll go from there.
Well, the original. Is it working?
No. When's the LAUSD debate? So we could talk about more funding for LAUSD.
Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.
Well, the original question was about community gardens, and I will address it. I do feel that gardening is a wonderful project and opportunity for us to cross generations. A lot of seniors, I know my dad has the best garden in town. So I do think it's important to have partnership with seniors and perhaps the local high schools and identify city property that could use a community garden. It's important to have open space, and I do agree that our parks are disgusting now. When I grew up, I had 7 brothers and sisters, and all our friends had 7 or 8 or 10 kids, and the parks were a very important part of our upbringing. We used to go to Lincoln Park all the time. It's important that people feel safe, that the bathrooms are clean, they are without encampments. And for all that money, as I said before, being spent on MacArthur Park, the women are with their kids in a little corner playing with the swings when there's drug addicts and homeless all over the place. So it's not acceptable. Why waste all that money? I wouldn't be bragging about all that money being put into MacArthur Park when you're not getting any results. People, kids, we all deserve safe, clean parks, open space. We have a lot of wonderful walking places here. We have Debs Park, we have Flat Top, we have Moon Canyon and Mount Washington. A lot of places where people can walk, and it should be safe and it should be clean for our community. And community gardens are something that we could have in these parks and another city-owned property if we do the right thing and do outreach. But I know a lot of parents are afraid to take their kids to things regarding this, to properties regarding the city because they don't feel safe, and there are encampments everywhere. So let's clean up the parks, let's promote open space, children and families. It's important. It was an important part of my childhood, and I think it should be the important part of everybody's childhood.
Thank you so much for your answers. Next question is an audience question. We'll start with Raul, then go back to Sylvia, then Eunisses. This one's a really good one. Raul, what will be done about the huge and growing problem of invasive mosquitoes? We got them in Orange County too.
I don't know.
Thank you. Next up is going to be Sylvia.
Well, when I think of mosquito, I think of those diseases that are going around with everybody. So I think we have to educate the public about not leaving water out and to cleaning up their homes and making sure that they're not attracting mosquitoes. I would do an educational outreach program at the schools, at the parks, and find out from the experts what we need to do with preventive care for the mosquitoes, and just go out and do it. I have done and worked doing community outreach for I worked in a hospital. I've currently worked on projects for a physician, and community outreach, informing the community is very important, but I would learn from the experts what needs to be done, how to educate, but we go and do it. If we tackled vaccines and we tackled COVID and we dealt with AIDS, you know, those were widespread diseases. So I think we can handle the mosquitoes.
And then Eunisses.
Thank you. One thing I would do is that I would leverage resources from LA County and LA County Department of Public Health and Health Services that actually address a lot of the mosquito issues within the county and the city of Los Angeles. We don't have to recreate the wheel. There's resources for education, there's educational materials, and there's teams that already do this work. So I would just bring them into the district and have a partner with us at our local events, at our community events, so we can do the education and we can get people the resources they need so that they're not building up gardens or spaces where mosquitoes will accumulate. This is something that we don't have to recreate. We can just leverage the county and bring those resources down.
Thank you, Raul, Sylvia, and Eunisses.
And now we have an audience question. Many of our young people don't feel safe being over-policed. Just a couple months ago, we saw LAPD going after students exercising their First Amendment rights to peacefully protest during the walkouts. How will you ensure that LAPD is held accountable?
Sylvia's going to be from there.
Well, this is similar like the previous question. We have to have open lines of communication with the current LAPD management. I agree with Eunisses in that we have to change policy and the charter and see how we can have effective policy over these kinds of, irresponsible and illegal treatment. I was an activist when I was at UCLA You know, I protested against South Africa, apartheid, and I continue to protest against Proposition 187, and the list goes on. So I do think students have the right to protest. It's a wonderful thing that we have in this country to be able to have freedom of speech, to exercise our Fifth Amendment rights, but we do have to have some serious conversation and policy changes as to why this is happening. It's not acceptable, I don't like it, and it goes against what is the American way. Part of being an American is having the right to express yourself and having the right to say what you want to say in a free, safe manner, and I support that.
No applauses, please. Thank you. And now on to Eunisses.
I think the first thing we got to recognize is that the youth don't feel safe. And that's something that I have heard in my career for some time. Before I ran for office, I was a community organizer. I worked with Justice LA, Reimagine LA, and also Students Deserve. For years, students have been advocating for different resource and investment in their school campuses. Some of that looks like peace ambassadors. We have peace ambassadors at Franklin. We have peace ambassadors at Sotomayor High School. They create safe passageways for our students so they can go to school and back home and feel safe. These are the alternatives that we need to be building up that are working to make our students want to come to school and stay in school. And these are the things that I'm funding. I'm one of the only council district that is that has full coverage of peace ambassador teams. I have been doing the work to beef up our public safety ecosystem with unarmed crisis response teams, circle teams, our peace ambassador teams, mobile overdose response teams, because we need to add more hands to the table. Right now, these teams are relieving some of the pressure on our fire department and our police department so that they can focus on more serious things. And we have to listen to the young people. They know what they want. They can't just be on the menu. They need to be on the table. And if they're telling us they don't feel safe, even after the district is investing $70 million in policing for just the schools, then we should listen to that. And I believe that we should be adopting more of the policies from Students Deserve and actually funding them correctly, because we haven't seen, other than I think some of the examples in our Sotomayor and Franklin, really good examples of that happening. But listen to the youth and invest in their safety.
No applauding, please. Thank you. Now, Raul.
So I would look to the west side and look at Venice and look at what Tracy Park has done, right, in her time of the council. Also San Fernando Valley and Monica Rodriguez and what she's done. These are functioning council members with experience that have been able to, you all right? Okay. So these are functioning council members that have been able to do their job, how the job description fits as a council member. I've been a former teacher, I'm a current activist and organizer, but the moment I become a council member, I have to be a governor. That is exactly what the council member is not doing right now. I think that the police commission right now is a joke, because the fact is the mayor is the one that appoints those commissioners. I go back to, we need a new mayor, we need to get rid of the police commission, which is why we've been working on charter reform since before the council member even got in office. So these are just facts. I grew up in Rampart. They made movies about us, okay? And I'm not an actor up here. I live that. And if I am not saying F the police because I have a 10-year-old little girl, when I call 911, I want a firefighter or a police officer, not a social worker, okay? So this is why we want to make sure that we get new training, a new chief, please. We get a new mayor and a new council member so that we can reset, recover, and rebuild together in CD1.
No applauding. Eunisses now has 30 seconds to respond.
We have to do more than just respond to harm and violence after it happens. When I got into office, the system that we had is something happens and you call 911 and someone responds after that harm and violence has happened. I'm investing in preventing harm and violence from happening in the first place. Our peace ambassadors, they're out there in MacArthur Park. They're out there in Pico Union. They're here in Highland Park, preventing harm and violence from happening in gang-impacted neighborhoods. Our unarmed crisis response teams are keeping people alive and saving us money and preventing future liability costs because they've been trained in how to respond to these calls. Thank you.
And now we're gonna go to my question. So the next question, Sylvia will start, and then it'll be Eunisses, then Raul. How do you plan to actively support students across Council District 1? And in Highland Park specifically, what real, visible actions beyond policy proposals will you take, and what specific programs or resources will you implement to ensure students, especially in under-resourced schools, are supported and have access to opportunities?
Well, 3 parts. Well, I think it's important to have as many internship programs available. It's in the council offices and across the city with government, and to also work with the private sector to provide opportunities and internships. So that's something that I have always done. I'm currently on the communications board at UCLA. I used to write for La Gente, which is the Latino newspaper. And what I do is I mentor the students there with all the various media publications. So I think anything that we have in terms of mentoring and giving students opportunity is important. I do think that we should create a governing board of representatives from all the high schools in CD1 and get input. I also believe that we should have a student representative on all the commissions in the city of LA. We should have a youth voice because they are our future and they represent a very important part of our population. We have many commissions with many citizens. I've been on the Convention Center Commission. I was on the commission to investigate Rampart. And when I was in high school, I was on the commission to celebrate the centennial of the city. I was in Pico Rivera. So I think it's important that you have youth on each of the different commissions and to create a governing body of seniors in all the schools across the CD1 so that I can listen, so that I know what your concerns are, and to have partnerships with you. It's all about listening, it's all about representation, and to encourage the students to run for the neighborhood councils. I think students can run on the neighborhood councils, and we don't see enough representation. So providing guidance and opportunity is really important, and educating, but it's more about representation and being open to those suggestions.
Thank you. Now, Eunisses.
From the moment that I got into this position, I've been investing in young people. The city's population is about 4 million people. Out of that 4 million, about 800,000 are young people. There is no question whether young people need to be a priority for the city or for my district. One thing I've done in my first year is that I partnered with Franklin High School students. They developed programs and some policies that they wanted to move forward. And as a council office, we invested $10,000 in making those programs and policies a reality. When it comes to opening up government, I want young people to know who their representatives are, that they are taxpayers, that they have access to their local government, and that City Hall is their home. I've brought in over a dozen schools to the City Hall so that they can learn about their government. I've visited dozens of schools within my district to let them know, hey, I'm your council member, this is my job, and this is what you need to be calling me for, because they're the future, they are the present, and we want them to be able to impact this city so that they can afford to live in this city, because everything from the water we drink to the air we breathe is a political decision, and they need to be engaged. Also, I want to uplift charter reform. Young people are always on the menu, but never at the table to make decisions. During the charter reform process, I've been one of the champions to make it available for residents ages 16 and up to be able to vote for their LAUSD school board representative. The school board representatives are making decisions on their everyday life and on their education. They should have a say on who represents them on those seats. For me, it's about accessibility. It's for them to know that the government is theirs, for them to trust government, and for them to know that they are the leaders and we're building the pipelines to bring them up into City Hall next. Thank you.
Now, Raul.
So I'm going to start off with a youth take back in CD1. We're going to take back all of our parks. So when I grew up, I'm a park rat. Normandy Park, we played from Normandy Park over to El Sereno during city district playoffs, Lincoln Park, Highland Park, and then when I was playing and coaching at LA High School, we had some good games here against Franklin. And so I want to make sure, not only as a former student athlete, but as a former teacher, as a former high school athletic director, also as the founder of University Little League in Pico Union, South LA, where I brought black and brown together in the home of the Harlem Rolling 30 Crips. As you can see, I'm not African American, right? So for me to get a license to operate in a community like that, says a lot. We created task force, we created park advisory boards, and gang prevention and intervention are key places and key avenues. And so being able to amp that up, but also the Nella food distributions. I've been asked for shade from the seniors at Glassell Park. I've been asked for food from the seniors in Lincoln Heights and Highland Park because World Harvest Food Bank was taken away. I know how it is to struggle with a mom on welfare cleaning houses. So I understand that we need food, we need to save some money on the DWP, and those are things that I'm willing to do. Food assistance, rental assistance, and a complete overhaul of the DWP. That's how I'm gonna make CD1 more affordable. We're gonna make it safe and clean for the youth and your parents, because I know that you hurt when you see Tia, mom, grandma, and grandpa hurting. And that's what I'm trying to do for all of our kids. Because if we have safe home and healthy homes, then we're gonna have happy kids and a happy community. So that's what I'm trying to do, day one.
Thank you to all the candidates.
Thank you. We'll go with Eunisses. We're gonna go Eunisses, back to Raul, and then Sylvia. Tell us about a restaurant that you enjoy, and tell us the story of the people who own that restaurant here, and specifically here in Highland Park. So starting with Eunisses, and then Sylvia, then Raul.
Yes,
Raul, then Sylvia. Go for it.
Thank you. I was born and raised in Highland Park and have lived here my entire life. I have the privilege of still living here. And my favorite restaurant is La Fuente. And if you know, you know. La Fuente used to have a location on Monte Vista. The family closed it down. They had one in Eagle Rock. They also sold that business. Now they operate the one on Figueroa. So if you want some good, ¿cómo se dice? Una tilapia, go get one. If you want some good taquitos, some good menudo, that's where you go. This, for me, is a place that I grew up going every weekend to La Fuente on Monte Vista. And now that one closed, I find myself going regularly to the one on Figueroa. This is an intergenerational family where the brothers own these businesses. They saw their kids growing up being part of the workers, a part of the business, but then their children started going off and doing other activities, such as becoming social workers and finding themselves. And you still see the same brothers that are running their business. They want to keep it going, but they remember me. They remember my family. And that's one of the things I love most about that place is the community that we've been able to build. That's why we have to do everything we can to protect our legacy businesses. CD1 is home to the largest number of legacy businesses in the entire city. That means they've existed for over 20 years. We're home to the largest number of small businesses that generate $100,000 or less in revenue. So we're talking micro entrepreneurs. So please support them. Also, a side note, if you want to get a good chimichanga, you go to Chico's on Figueroa Boulevard. For some good bagels, you go to CNH Bagels on Figueroa as well. Thank you.
Raul?
Interesting. All of our legacy businesses are dying. Papa Cristos is gone in Pico Union. Langer's threatened to close. Thank God that Mayor Bass did one right thing and give him a little bit of extra love. She forgot about all of MacArthur Park. She put some temporary fences because the council member failed to do her job. With that being said, I would choose, if I couldn't choose the food truck La Estrella right up down the street, Buen Sabor. Let me tell you about Buen Sabor and pupusas. I see Gustavo nodding his head, okay? Buen Sabor has been here for years, one of the few and first Salvadorian restaurants to start at the beginning, but it was almost closed down because we had gentrifiers complaining about noise when they wanted to get a permit. A simple permit to have live karaoke on the weekends. So guess who they called? Guess who worked through the process of getting the permits, of being able as a consultant? I've been a businessman. This is why all of our businesses as individuals and the chambers and the bids as individuals, because they're nonprofits so they can't endorse me, but as individuals, Gustavo, they're in supporting my campaign. You can go ahead and ask them. We have some of them here. This is why the business community is fearful of 4 more years of this disaster to my right. It is just out of control. Central Westlake right now that is being developed, right? And St. Vincent Medical Center. These are things that have been working on for 6, 7 years, for 10 years, but they're scared because private investors won't come into CD1 when we have a socialist that doesn't believe in business or public safety. Flat out, straight out, the truth.
Eunisses, 30-second response.
You know, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I have shown you all that I have been beefing up the public safety ecosystem. We've literally opened up a $400,000 small business resiliency grant to support our businesses in Council District 1 because yes, they are struggling. We are doing the work, but we also tell the truth. Thank you.
Okay, please, no. Folks, especially adults, we have a junior student here. What are you telling them? Blah, blah, blah. What are you telling them about following simple rules? Por eso estamos como estamos. What do you say to that, Emma?
We just need to follow the rules.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, Sylvia, favorite restaurant in Highland Park, and tell us the story of the owner.
Well, mine was La Fuente too on Monte Vista. But what I do like La Fuente, Antigua Bread, and El Pescador, and the reason, aside from the food being very good, is that they are family-owned businesses. El Pescador, they started out with, I think, the first restaurant in Huntington Park, and then all the brothers, there was like a family of 10, each of the brothers was able to get a restaurant, and now they're all over the county and then also in Orange County. And La Fuente, she said, were 3 brothers. They had the mother's recipes, but I think the restaurant on Monte Vista was still better. And so now I do go to the one on Figueroa. And I love the story of Antigua Bread. Also, they have a restaurant here, and they also have another one in El Sereno. And it's about families doing what they can to invest in themselves and invest in their communities. But I also agree with Raul, we need to do whatever we can to keep these small businesses, to have lighting, for people to feel safe when they walk on the streets, for the businesses to have parking available, so that, and also that the permitting process is seamless. We need to do whatever we can to invest in these families because they are investing all their life savings, and we know that they work night and day and on weekends. So we need to support them, but the city needs to do their part in making them stay and making them, their customers safe and helping them be successful. That is part of the American dream. We all want the American dream. My parents came here and they are safe. They're 92 and 95 and they've lived here for many, many years, and they got the American dream, and all their kids have the American dream, and I think every generation must, but it's so difficult now. So for people that have businesses, let's support them and let the city make it easy for them with cops walking up and down the streets and with safe lighting and parking.
Thank you all for the great recommendations. Next is going to be an audience question, and we're going to go Raul, Sylvia, and Eunisses. How can the city of Los Angeles prevent, or at least survive, another destructive fire?
Well, as a former executive director to the Red Cross, I know a crisis and a disaster when I see one. I'm the only one that's trained on emergency preparedness and disaster response. And let me tell you that as a former executive director for 4 years, also as a former aide to a council president, the #1 job of government is infrastructure. And right now that is failing us, right? We've seen how we had dried up water right next to us, right? We were supposed to have water. And so these type of infrastructure gaps is something that's been sitting there for years. And so we have a problem with City Hall. It's a Titanic, but you gotta know how to steer it. So while the current council member has tried to fight it and change it, there's been a lot of years, now 4, that have gone by. And let me tell you that if a fire would catch on to Pico Union, MacArthur Park, Westlake, we wouldn't be able to recover. Look at the 1992 riots. Look at the 94 earthquake. Look how long it took us to be able to recover in these vulnerable populations and areas. Pico Union, just 4 years ago, and I'm sure that it's still the same, is the #1 most vulnerable community in the entire city of Los Angeles because of the density and the liquefaction. And that's a good assignment for those of you that don't know, especially the students, what liquefaction is. It's the soil that we're sitting on. Study that, make sure that you know about your liquefaction, because we're in disaster territory here, not only with nature, but with our representation.
Eunisses, 30-second response. Please, audience.
Part of making a government function is stopping the government from repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so in my council district, I've invested our discretionary funds in building fire-wise councils. I have Mount Washington, Glassell Park that are very high fire severity zones. We don't have any, there's no question on whether we need to be ready for a fire, and we're doing that by educating our community members, bringing them together to create fire-wise councils so they can pull grants, so they can do removal of weeds, removal of brush, build relationship with each other. I've
Wrap
also
it
trained
up.
dozens of people in CERT.
Thank you. Sylvia, same question. What can be done to prevent destructive fires?
Well, we do have to evaluate what happened with the most recent fire, what went wrong and how we can do better. But we do have to invest in our infrastructure. We have to make sure that we have working fire stations, we have to have the staff, the personnel, that the water is working when there's a fire. These are simple, not complicated things. But we have to evaluate street by street what is working and what is not working. And I also have been trained in emergency preparedness. I worked at a hospital, and that was an important part of our mission. And I also did the CERT training, and have also been involved with also starting some of the CERT trainings when I worked in CD1. But when I talk, I am in a fire zone. When I talk to the people of Pico Union, like he said, it's density. It's a different issue than when you talk to people of Mount Washington or Montecito Heights. They are scared to death that they're not going to be able to get out if there is a fire, that they're not going to have enough warning to be able to leave their home, and that the streets are narrow, and that the fire trucks can't go up, and that we have to do something about improving the red flag days. This past fire was really scary for all of us here in the Northeast area, and I'm in a fire zone, and I was scared. So we have to do whatever we can to improve the infrastructure, invest in the personnel, and also do preventive work, educate our community, and have drills. And also make sure that it's safe for people to leave their hillsides, and train people, and what can we do in the very densely populations of Pico Union and MacArthur Park. We're not there yet, we're way off, but we had a warning, and it's time to act, and in time to improve, and time to be critical of what we need to do. But we can do it. We are a united city when we put our
Wrap
mind
up,
to
please.
it.
Cool. Raul, you get 30 more seconds. Yes, everyone's getting the same time, folks. We have a timer here. Thank you.
Hold on.
Oh,
So,
no, because Sylvia gently chided Raul for claiming that he was the only one on stage, so fair being fair. Sorry,
Thank you,
fair
Sylvia.
being fair.
So one of the things that I wrote down is that one of the most important things is to be present and to be here. So whether it's Mandami's inauguration, it's better to be here than in Mandami's inauguration, or in Ghana, right? When they warn you that you should be here. So making sure that leadership shows up, I've always said, is half the battle. Por eso es que yo siempre digo, si me invitan, yo llego. If you invite me, I will show up. And that's why I'm here. I've been at all 6 candidate forums, unlike somebody.
You're doing this. Okay, Eunisses, 30 more seconds. You went like that? Folks, please stick to the answers. Do not make gestures to each other. Fair is fair. Eunisses, you get 30 seconds, and then on top of that, you get your 2-minute response.
Sylvia's answer was bad too. Sylvia's answer was so bad.
Again, we have, Emma, what do you think about these adults and what they're doing?
Everything's questionable.
Ooh, that's shade. All right, folks, thank you. Wisdom, okay. 30 seconds and 2 more minutes.
To the rebuttal, see, y'all distracted me around being.
Destructive, how do we stop destructive fires from Los Angeles?
Can I just do my answer then?
Yeah, just do the
Okay,
answer.
Great. So fire safety
2 minutes, please.
has been incredibly important to me. When I was running for fire safety is incredibly important to me, and I'm the only candidate on this stage who's been endorsed by the Centurions, which are Black and Latino firefighters and paramedics for the city of Los Angeles. From the moment I was running the first time, I was doing drive along with Mount Washington neighbors to learn about the issues that they were experiencing living on our hillsides. I have driven the hillsides, Glassell Park, Mount Washington, with our fire department. There was a moment where we couldn't even get the fire truck up the hill, and so we've installed red flag parking days and repainted red curbs up there to make it more accessible for our fire department. I don't want to see anybody's life lost on preventative measures. One of the first CERT classes that we ever did, and these classes teach people how to respond when there's an emergency, was in Pico Union. We had over 70 people signed up for that class. We had to do 2 classes in Chinatown because the need for CERT is so high and people are really engaged and want to be ready for when emergency hits. I've been advocating and fighting in the city hall in our budget for smaller fire trucks so that they can't get up there into the hillsides. Those small fire trucks exist. They're expensive, but I'm hoping that in the next couple of years we can get one for the Mount Washington and Glassell Park area. I also want to go back to the Firewise Council. The Firewise Council, we were able to get resources to develop that in Mount Washington, and that is a group of neighbors that are getting together to build an organization where then they can apply for grants to help do, that'll help trim down the debris around the neighborhood. It helps them get educated and develop an emergency response. So if there, God forbid, universe forbids that there's a fire up there, that they know the emergency plan and know how to respond. These are the things that we have to invest in. These are the things that we have to prepare and also make sure that our fire department is fully funded. I don't know about the other candidates, but I've endorsed the fire ballot measure. So we have fully funded fire department. We have the oldest fire station in the entire city of Los Angeles exists in Lincoln Heights. We need to change that. And that's why I'm supporting the measure so that we can get new fire stations. Our fire department hasn't seen an increase since 2008 recession. Thank you.
You mentioned the other candidates, 10-second response, each of you. Yeah, okay, Raul, go for it. Yeah, 30 seconds, fine.
So-
30. No, she said no, she didn't want to do that. So 30 seconds, you get 30 seconds, Raul, then Sylvia.
Yeah, so again, I'm glad that this is breaking news to me. I've been campaigning for a year. I've been running the CD1 coalition for 3 years. Mount Washington just wants one staircase fixed and some roads paved. Pretty simple. So to get fire trucks up there, great, let's do it. Chinatown and Pico Union, there's fires all the time. There's an arsonist that runs around. You could talk to Cathedral High School, you could talk to the bid. Oh wait, the bid doesn't exist anymore.
Thank you. Sylvia, 30 seconds.
Well, as stated before, prevention care and being analytical and critical of our resources and infrastructure is important. So I do believe in educating our community on what they can do and also looking at the resources that we have and how we can improve it. And there's a lot of questionable safety issues in all our districts. So we really do have to go and be proactive, take care of the issues. And
10 seconds.
Oh, she said stop. So we have to be proactive and take care of it.
Thank you all.
Okay, and now on to my question. It'll be Sylvia, Eunisses, and then Raul. So the question is, families in our community are being separated due to immigrant enforcement. What concrete actions will you take at the city level to support and protect these families? And how will you ensure that children impacted by these situations have consistent access to emotional, educational, and financial support? Sylvia.
Well, I would work definitely with our congressional offices because even now we're seeing that when Jimmy Gomez, our congressman, went to some of these sites, he wasn't allowed in. So we do have to make sure that we work with our partners in the federal government to make sure that they are doing their visiting these centers and looking to see what's going on with them, that there's health care, that our people are being treated with dignity, and that we try to do whatever we can in doing policy and legislation so that children are not being separated from their families. This has been a long-going issue with students coming into this country, and now with the ICE raids. The ICE raids are just immoral, unethical, illegal, and just heartbreaking to see. And as a city council person, we can educate our community, tell them how to be prepared, work with Legal Aid Foundation to give them the legal aid and the resources. I was on the board of Legal Aid many years ago when I was a student, and it was a way for me to learn about what immigrants can access. I have always been an immigrant rights activist and social justice activist, and it's important that we provide and educate our community on what are the resources. It is a federal issue, but as a city, people have a lot more contact and communication with their local government. So as a council person, we really are the first persons that they talk to or call. They know who we are, even more than they know who their congressman is or state legislator. So it is important that we educate our community, tell them what they can and cannot do, and do whatever we can, make recommendations for policy changes, and elect the people that are gonna fight for you. Elect people in Congress, elect those of us in office that are gonna make a difference.
Okay, time's done.
Thank you.
Now on to Eunisses.
Great, thank you for this question. I didn't wait for Trump to get sworn in to take action against what the federal government was going to be doing to our communities, because this is not the first time that he's been in office. The first time he was in office, I was a community organizer. But now as a council member, I've invested our CD1 discretionary funds in supporting families impacted by the raids and helping them pay back rent, so we're providing rental assistance. We've doubled the amount of money that we put into food access. We went from 2,500 bags a month to 4,000 bags a month. We're the only council district in the city that has built up a community defense network of community organizers that we've trained block by block on how to respond to federal immigration raids, the information to collect, and how to connect those people and those families impacted to the services that we have to offer, and doing warm handoffs to legal services. We're also one of the only districts in the entire city that does text blasts, that text people know your right information, text them when there's a federal immigration raid happening that's been triple verified, so we're not just fear-mongering people. I've also passed over and submitted 22 pieces of legislation to hold LAPD accountable to make sure they're following our sanctuary city ordinance. I co-authored that ordinance before Trump got into office. You would have thought that the city was a sanctuary city, and it wasn't. So we had to do the work to make that happen. I've also, part of our community defense team, we have dozens of people that respond to the raids that are connecting with us and trying to do other work to connect the families with support. Also, last year in the budget process, our day labor centers and Represent LA were both defunded. Our day labor centers, we have two, one in Cypress Park, Home Depot, one in Westlake. I was able to fight back in the budget to restore $1 million. Represent LA is a legal program, a legal defense program to support immigrants that are in deportation proceedings. I fought when that was defunded last year and restored $1 million back into that program. For me, it's not a question. The population of immigrants in this city is 1.3 million people. The whole economy, there's whole economies in the city that run and succeed because of the work of immigrants. I am the daughter of Mexican immigrants. I will do everything I can every single day to fight against the federal government and the kidnapping. Thank you.
Thank you. Now on to Raul. No applauding, please, no.
So all of that, and we got nothing to show for it. Our people were still kidnapped. We're still living in fear. And so the pandering for votes and the grandstanding and the gaslighting has to stop. It's okay. This is a built-in crowd. I get it. I know where I'm at, but it's fine. Listen, the council member has burned the spot. She's claimed all this. She's claimed all that. She codified something that's already been done as sanctuary state. If you notice, they're only attacking sanctuary city. And when they attack Los Angeles and not San Francisco, who just had a Super Bowl with no problem up there with ICE, it's because we have a council member that stands up there, yells at Trump, but is nowhere to be found when the fight comes to MacArthur Park, when the fight comes to Cypress Park, when it comes to the El Salvador corridor. Guess who ran ICE out of there by myself? Guess who went up there and protested the Dodgers and got them to get $1 million over to the city? This is the only problem. We don't know where the money went. And that's the problem with this failed government, this misuse of public funds. It's always missing. No one knows where it's at. I'm glad Rob Lucero's here, because Jimmy Gomez has to go too. So vote Rob Lucero, and let's just clean up this old guard and this new guard that came in, and let's get back to the hard-working middle. All of us that is sandwiched somewhere in between just want safe and clean streets for all. We want to be able to come home and find some parking.
No applauding, please. Eunisses now has 30 seconds to respond.
I believe that the families of Council District 1 that we've supported that have been impacted by the federal immigration raids would say that you're lying, that we have been making an impact. And we are standing up for our communities every single day, providing them the resources that they need to thrive and to survive the immigration onslaught that is happening. People are too afraid to go to work. People are too afraid to go grocery shopping. So we're delivering the food to their door, and we're helping them pay the rent, because we cannot afford to have more families fall into the eviction to homelessness pipeline. I know the impact, I see the impact, because I'm out there in my community and talking with my community members.
Now Raul
So are
has
you
30
talking about
seconds.
like the families from Hillside Villa that protested your house twice? I mean, we're talking
No
about
pausing.
housing, we're talking about impact, we're talking about leadership. We haven't had it. Those of you that live here and that have lived through this reality, this social experiment that has failed, know what I'm talking about. Enough with the games already. Let Sylvia talk, please.
Yeah, let Sylvia talk.
Yeah,
because
I
we
think
can't go back
Sylvia's
and
doing a
forth with
bad
Sylvia.
job. Give her 30 more seconds too.
No, sorry. Okay, Sylvia.
Well, I agree with Raul that we're getting a lot of information about money being spent and things being done, but no results. You know, there's no actions, no results, no visible. We see all this money being spent in MacArthur Park and the homeless, but we walk on the street and the homelessness increased by 20% in our district. People can't walk in our community. Everybody knows it. Everybody doesn't feel safe. People are unhappy with the current situation. So again, there's lack of transparency. The money is being wasted. There's not effectiveness.
Timekeeper.
And
Everything.
I agree.
No,
It's
she has
time
30 seconds.
time for new leadership, time to elect a whole new slate of individuals.
Puro desmadre. Thank you all. Next question is mine. We're going to go Eunisses, Raul, Sylvia. Open-ended question. Dodgers. You got 2 minutes. Dodgers.
The Dodgers, well, let's just start off by naming that they're on the neighborhoods of La Loma, Bishop, and Palo Verde, and that's what we have to uplift every single day. When it comes to the Dodgers, I am in a fight, in a David versus Goliath fight against Frank McCourt, a billionaire that owns the parking lots of the Dodger Stadium. He wants to take State Historic Park land to build a gondola that's gonna make him even richer, that's gonna allow him to develop the parking lots. My community, from the moment that I started knocking doors when I ran the first time, has told me that I need to vehemently oppose this project, and I have been. I believe that the owner needs to remove all stock and all money that he has invested in immigration prisons and jails, because that is unacceptable.
No applauding, please.
And that's where I'm at. And have I been at Dodger Stadium? Was I there last year? Absolutely. It was a moment where our communities were struggling, and I wanted to connect with the Dodgers to hold them accountable, particularly talk with the owner of the Dodgers, to just mention that I believe that he needs to remove his money from immigration prison investments. Thank you.
Raul, Dodgers.
The question is Dodgers. So, we started off with the naming of the land, and I also want to recognize the original names of those land, which is why I'm working with Buried Under the Blue to make sure that we bring this policy back up to City Council. I think Wendy Carrillo, A for effort, but didn't go far enough. We need to be able to get justice for those families. I thought I seen, and I might be wrong, but there are pictures out there of the council member giving away turkeys with the McCourt fam. So let's just make sure that we're not hypocrites when we're up here. She was also at the parade and at the celebration with the whole DSA fam bam. So again, miss us with the gaslighting, the grandstanding, and just the flat out lies. I'm here because of my 10-year-old little girl. We used to walk to the stadium. 3-generation Dodger fans. My dad, who I lost in 2021, who brought his first pair of underwears at El Piojito across the street from MacArthur Park when he fled a civil war, Dodger fan. Myself, a Dodger fan. My little girl, Dodger fan. But she walked out of Dodger Stadium, protest them. Google right now, 9-year-old little girl boycotts the Dodgers. Valentina Zamora Claros. And Zamora is also her mom who's running for school board. Vote Raquel Zamora for school board because you need a new school board member here too. This whole leadership has to go down here, as do the Dodger ownership, and we need to boycott the games at the stadium. We need to cheer for our boys in blue at local restaurants in Highland Park, Echo Park, Elysian Park, and all the surrounding areas, or from home. Have Dodger watch parties, but don't give another $1 to those overpriced micheladas. They're better at El Compadre restaurant anyways.
Eunisses, 30-second response. They keep talking trash on each other.
Well, I will say that event where the Frank McCourt people kept trying to hand me
Please
turkeys
be quiet.
was
Yeah.
at William Mead, which is our public housing development next to Chinatown. I'm never, ever going to deny our CD1 families access to food. I will never do that. And if Frank McCourt was there with all his signs, that's fine. I was there with the over 50 bags of food to feed William Mead residents, and that's what I was focused on. This Frank McCourt, I've only met him once, and he says my name so perfectly. Why?
Stop,
because I
please.
live rent-free in his head because we're fighting against
Roll.
the gondola for our communities.
Okay, Sylvia, Dodgers.
Well, what concerns me is, of course, the gondola. I do not support the gondola. I don't think it's effective. I think it's going to disrupt that neighborhood. We have a beautiful little park there, and most of the people that live there do not support it. And what concerns me is that, yes, the councilwoman has been fighting hard against it, but she's ineffective. So, a lot of those people on the MTA board supported her, endorsed her. Hilda Solis, so what we're seeing is she doesn't build relationships with other people. All the rest of the council, she doesn't get her votes. She has these people that support her, but they're not voting with her. So what's the point of being a council person if you don't build relationships with people and you're not going to be able to get the vote and support that you need? So it's important that you fight for something, but you're effective as well. And I do not support the gondola, and it's terrible what's happening there in terms of that division because of money and greed.
I get 30 seconds.
Thank you. You attacked her? You critiqued her? Yeah, okay, 30
Yes,
seconds.
he did. Yes, you did. Okay,
She
beautiful.
said yes.
So my motto is that I work with everyone, just not on everything. I have drafted motions with some of the most conservative council members on the council because I work with everyone, just not on everything. That doesn't mean I have to change my values. That means in order to succeed, I need a majority, and I get that majority. I've gotten my legislation passed. I've gotten millions of dollars moved at the city council level. And also, look up SB 71. When they talk about being ineffective, that's absolutely just false. We're working with our state legislators to change state laws to
please.
stop the gondola
Roll it
from
up.
being moved to the state level.
Thank you all. She should respond? Okay, why not? One more. Go for it, Sylvia. 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, all I can say is the results are there. The MTA board didn't voted to support the gondola, and we just don't see the votes. And I don't feel that she is. She's the only vote on many of the policies on the city council. It's just no results, ineffective, not building relationships.
Cutting it off.
That's
We
what
have
we're-
15 more minutes, folks. 15 more minutes. 5-second response.
Okay, the city council unanimously supported my resolution against the gondola. All of them voted for it. All of them are in
Time's
support
up.
of me fighting against the
Thank you.
gondola.
No applause, please. Thank you. We have 50 more minutes. How would you grade the audience so far?
Maybe a 6,
6 out of 10. What about the candidates here?
maybe a 3.
From the big 0. Gustavo 0, Emma 10.
Now our next question, Raul will go first, then Sylvia, then Eunisses. Highland Park has experienced rapid gentrification that has pushed out long-term residents. Students that I went to school with since elementary school were unable to attend their feeder high school due to rising rent and unaffordable housing. What specific policies will you implement to prevent displacement, and how will you ensure that those policies directly benefit the communities most at risk? Raul?
So I was just asking the council member, does this school look different than when she first got here? Because I've only visited, like I said, when we've played baseball up here or sports, and she said it looks pretty much the same except with some refurbishment. So I'm happy that that's happening. Gentrification is gonna happen whether we like it or we don't. What I wanna figure out is how we can get gentrification with respect. And that's what we haven't had in Highland Park. And that happens when we preserve our legacy businesses, and also when we make it affordable to stay in Highland Park and worth staying in Highland Park. That's why I want to create a one-stop center with the discretionary funds going from pipes, needles, showers, and food, and $30 million up in MacArthur Park, and bring it back so that when Theo lose their job, or one of the small businesses, needs just a 1 month or 2 month support with their rent, that's how I want to be able to preserve some of these small businesses and keep those that are still from Highland Park here. I think that there's been a lot of people that just moved in, probably within the last 5 or 10 years. They've now had kids here, and I can tell you that their perspective has changed. And as a girl dad of a 10-year-old little girl, if you're a parent, you understand how your life changes the moment that you start seeing, the world through your kids' eyes. I've never been a 10-year-old little girl, but I see the world through 10-year-old little girls' eyes now, in seeing all of the encampments, all of the disasters. And guess what? People are moving out because of that. They're going to Pasadena, Glendale. But guess what? Those cities are in threat because of the lack of regional leadership that we have in CD13, CD1, CD4, and CD14. What do they all have? A common denominator that says disaster, DSA.
Eunisses now gets 30 seconds to respond.
One of the main reasons why I ran the first time was to combat the greed of property owners and developers. The 2008 recession was the year that I graduated from this high school. My friends had to move to Lancaster, Riverside with their families because they could no longer afford to live in the city. So when we talk about displacement, when we talk about gentrification, I've lived it. I've had the privilege of surviving it because there's been small businesses that are in this space that help me and my family stay in our home in Highland Park. But what we need to focus on is making sure we can provide the resources, and I'll talk more in my 2 minutes about what we're doing in Council District 1.
No response, no response.
No response, no response, no response, no response. No. Tengan respeto. We have high schoolers here. You're teaching them that democracy is bad. No. Tengan respeto. No, tengan respeto, por favor. No.
Pues tiene
Okay, thank you.
razón a veces cuando se organizan estas cosas
Okay.
necesitamos tener para
Okay, please give also respect to the candidates. The more you folks talk, the less they're able to talk. So, Sylvia, you are next.
Okay. Yes, we have. I agree with Eunisses that we've had, greedy corporations have been taking apartments and forcing people out illegally, and people are afraid to speak up. And we have had a decline in terms of Latinos and in the population here in Council District 1, and actually throughout the city. I'm on the board of Camino Nuevo Charter School in the Pico Union Westlake area, and there's a big decline of students there, and we also see a decline of students here because families are moving out to Imperial Valley, they're moving to Lancaster, they're moving far. So we do have to do what we can to educate people, and as I said before, when families are going through a difficult time, it's important to provide financial assistance. If it's a long-term, then it's just too difficult. I have a rent control property. I think it works well. I've had no problem with it, but we have to make sure we don't penalize the small landlords, and also make sure that we penalize and go after those big corporations that are forcing people out illegally. It's happening, and it's going to keep happening, and we have to make sure we prosecute them. It's not acceptable, but we should provide funding to families that cannot afford their rent on a short-term basis.
Now Eunisses.
Great, thank you. In my time as a council member, I have heavily focused on protecting our tenants and preventing displacement. This district is made up of 60% renters. And for the longest, there have not been protections to prevent people from falling into the eviction to homelessness pipeline. So I have been working with my colleagues to establish rent caps for rent stabilized units. These RSO units are for our most vulnerable community members, for low income people, and their rent used to be able to increase 10% plus utilities. Our seniors on SSI cannot afford those things. So after 40 years, we put a rent cap on RSO units at 4% to prevent our seniors and more families from falling into the eviction to homelessness pipeline. Also, there was a law called Tahoe, Tenant Anti-Harassment Ordinance. The version 1.0 didn't have teeth for enforcement. I fought to give Tahoe 2.0 teeth for enforcement and resources for enforcement. And my district is one of the only districts where we have been able to put a citation against a landlord for harassing a tenant. Because another way that people fall into the eviction to homelessness pipeline is being harassed by their landlords, is by the landlords not fixing the properties and people self-evicting. We have to prevent those things because it's much easier to keep someone in their housing than to try to get them housing once they've fallen into homelessness. And let's talk about small businesses. Let's talk about how the state governs all the laws around small business tenant protections, which don't exist, and rent caps for small businesses. I've been doing the work to bring our state legislators together to try to change the law and give the city council the authority to be able to regulate tenant protections for our small businesses, and so we can cap the rent for our small businesses as well. Because we see small businesses thriving, and then their lease goes up, and landlords increase it by $2,000 or more. That's not going to prevent displacement. So we're going to do the work to change that law, but in the meantime, we're doing the work to keep people in their housing to make sure that they don't get evicted, and supporting our community members from being displaced. Thank you.
Thank you to all the candidates.
This is going to be the final question. Then each candidate's going to have a 90-second closing statement. And for this one, let's just do 1-minute responses just because we're almost out of time. And this is really about the future of this district. This is from the audience. Currently, each LA City Council member represents roughly 265,000 people. The Charter Reform Commission has recommended expanding the council's 225 seats to bring that number down. Your thoughts? We're going to go Sylvia, then Eunisses, and Raul. So you have 1 minute starting now. Thank you.
It really depends on what that number is. I'm not sure it will be effective, and a lot of people I've talked to just think it's a waste of taxpayer money. That why are we going to have more council members, more staff, and that it's not really going to make a difference. But I'd like to see what that number is. I want to see, what kind of representation there is. So I do support an increase in the number of council members, but not double and not a large amount. But I do feel that council members currently represent a very large population, and I would rather see the council offices get more funding and have more staff, because the staff is really the one that go out there and deal with constituents. I worked in City Hall doing policy work, and I also worked in the field, and I worked 10, 12-hour days and on weekends. It was a lot of work. I made sure that when I got in